Hey guys, tonight we are slipping into a city with no clocks, no ticking seconds, no alarms to jolt you from dreams. You live by the sky, by the breath of morning, by the subtle turning of the light. There are no digital schedules, no glowing screens on your wrist, just the sound of pigeons waking before you, just the gentle blue spreading across your wall. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you are listening from somewhere quiet, maybe late at night, let me know in the comments where you are and what time it is right now. I wonder how many of us are awake together, carried by the same moonlight. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake not because something beeps, but because the cold stone beneath your mat warms slightly as the first threads of sunlight slide in. There is no hour. There is no time. There is only the light growing long and gold across the floor, touching your fingers one by one. Somewhere beyond the clay walls, you hear water being lifted from a well. The rhythmic creak of the rope, the splash like a blessing poured into an empty jar. That is morning. That is your clock. You stretch slowly, your joints familiar with the silence. You hear goats shift in the alley, someone coughing through the dust. The neighbor's broom starts its soft scraping against packed dirt, and a child's voice rises with the pigeons. You have no way to know how long you have slept, only that the city is stirring, and you must stir with it. You dress not because it is time, but because it is light. The fabric is coarse and smells faintly of yesterday's fire. You touch your forehead with damp fingers, whisper a short prayer, and step into the pale breath of dawn. There are no minutes to measure, only the instinct that the sun is climbing, and you must climb with it. The air is cold and soft. It carries the scent of yesterday's bread still clinging to clay ovens. The ground underfoot is uneven, worn by sandals, dry but not yet hot. You pass a man balancing firewood on his shoulders. He does not greet you, not yet. The day has not truly begun until the merchants open their mouths and the olives glisten in the baskets. For now, the city walks like you do, in hush. You hear roosters, not one but many, their calls braiding through the alleyways. You hear them because you have no choice. This city without clocks is measured by animals, not bells. The timing of the world rests in the lungs of birds and the paws of stray dogs, scratching against doorframes. You wonder, sometimes, what it would be like to know the hour. Would it feel sharper, cleaner, more controlled? Or would it feel like a collar around the neck, tightening each time your thoughts wandered too far? Your body knows when it is morning, not because someone tells you, but because your stomach stirs. Your muscles ache in familiar ways, and the sky is no longer black. You live in rhythm with the city, and the city lives in rhythm with the sun. Time is not counted here. Time is noticed. The temple looms ahead, its shadow still long. You cannot see the priests yet, but you know they are already washing their hands in stone basins. Somewhere, incense curls like a quiet signal to the heavens, and doves flap their wings at the sudden movement of cloth. There is no bell, no whistle, only the smoke rising in silence, marking the start of something holy. You are not late, you are not early, you are here, and that is enough. Somewhere behind you, someone begins to sing. It is not a song of celebration or mourning, just a tune to greet the day, to fill the space where numbers might be. It is not loud, it is not perfect, it does not have to be. And as the city slowly exhales its night, you do too. The day has begun, not by the count of hours, but by the feel of it in your bones. You move past the gate and toward the edge of the courtyard, where an old fig tree leans slightly from years of wind. Beneath it, a boy crouches with a sling, practicing in silence. He has no clock to tell him how long to train, no bell to signal when he is done. He only watches the light and the leaves and the movement of shadows across his hand. When the light hits the roots, he will go in. That is all he needs to know. In a stall nearby, a woman unties bundles of herbs, mint hyssop, dried garlic, stringed together with reeds. She does not hurry. She works with the patience of someone who knows that nothing good ever came from haste. She has done this for years, always at this hour, or what would be this hour, if you had a number to give it. But you do not. You have only the slow dance of sunlight warming her face, the quiet stretch of linen across her forearm, the way her breath follows the rhythm of the unraveling rope. Time is not a master here, it is a guest. It walks beside you, not ahead of you. You pass a man sweeping the street with a date palm broom, humming under his breath. He is not late for anything. There are no meetings, no appointments. He sweeps because the dust returns each day, and because the street deserves to be seen clean at least once before the sun reaches its highest. He nods as you walk past. You nod back. This is how people speak when they have nowhere else to rush. Your thoughts wander, as they often do at this hour. Not to tasks or deadlines, but to stories. You remember your father's voice, telling you of times when prophets walked in silence and the world listened. When God spoke not through calendars or reminders, but through burning bushes and still winds. The morning feels like that, still, warm, alert without urgency. A woman passes with a clay jar balanced perfectly on her head. She walks with purpose, but not with panic. She has carried that jar so many times, her spine bends like a reed in the right places. You think of how many times she has walked this path, at this same part of the morning, marked not by watches, but by instinct. You wonder if her bones remember better than her memory does. You smell smoke, not fire, but baking. Flatbread pressed to hot stones, bubbling slightly around the edges. That smell has no number, but everyone knows what part of the day it belongs to. You follow it briefly, turning down a narrow alley where a boy sits beside his mother, fanning the fire. She sprinkles flour with careful fingers, as though dusting the air with something sacred. The fire does not roar. It crackles, soft and steady. Even the flame respects the quiet of the morning. It is not silent here, but the sounds belong to the place. They are part of the rhythm. Birds chirp and wings beat. Tools clink and ropes creak. A distant sheep cries, answered by another. You realize that if someone removed the sky, if the stars vanished, and the sun fell asleep, this city would still know when to rise, when to eat, when to pray, when to sleep, all from listening to itself. Your feet ache a little, but not in a hurry kind of way, just in the way of feet that know they've walked enough for this early part of the day. You consider stopping to sit at the edge of the wall near the well. There's a coolness there that holds on longer than most places. You watch a few older men already there, heads bowed in shared words, or no words at all. Their silence is seasoned. They speak with pauses, more than phrases. The sun rises higher. It glints against jars and rooftops, and the sharp edge of a Roman coin dropped on the ground. A child picks it up, squints at it, then forgets it again. There are no stores opening on the hour, no city gates timed by gears. The day opens like a scroll, slowly, patiently, without pressure. And you remember something someone once said to you, long ago, that clocks are clever, but they make time a tyrant. And that the Lord does not tick or chime. He breathes, he whispers. He moves with clouds and moon and bread rising in the dark. And so do you. You notice it gradually, the way the light leans, how the color of the walls turns from pale gold to something stronger, something deeper. There is no announcement, no bell, but still, you know that the day has taken its next breath. It is the hour that has no number, but it is felt. A shift in sound, a softness hardening, a brightness blooming. In this city, no one glances at a clock to see when to pray. The rhythm of the sacred is not a schedule, it is a presence. It moves like a wind that stirs at the same part of every day, touching shoulders, lifting faces, curling gently through the edges of the soul. You find yourself pausing without meaning to. Your fingers rest against a smooth piece of stone, A cart rolls slowly past, its wooden wheel thudding once. Then again, someone behind you exhales, as though they too have sensed it. Time to turn inward. Time to lift your heart, not your eyes. The 6th hour is coming, though no one names it. You do not need a sundial or a sandglass. You have the warmth of the wall behind you, and the pull in your chest that tells you it is time to stand still. The temple will soon fill with footsteps, low chanting, soft bells. But even before that, the city shifts. Like a tide returning, it draws everything toward the center, toward holiness. You see a man stop his work, wiping his brow with the edge of his sleeve. He mutters a verse as he crouches to rinse his hands. A woman feeding chickens closes her eyes for a heartbeat longer than a blink. Her lips move, not loudly, but with conviction. A boy stops tossing pebbles and just stares at the sky for a while, searching not for clouds, but for meaning. The prayers rise not in unison, but in harmony, not as a command, but as a memory. As if every soul in this place had been tuned to the same quiet frequency, and now the signal has returned. It is sacred rhythm, not measured time, that holds the bones of this place together. You walk toward the corner where the old olive tree bends over a sun-bleached bench. This is where elders gather, not to rule or command, but to remember. Their voices carry parables instead of prices. They speak of years in clusters of harvests and droughts, not minutes and months. One of them nods at you, not in greeting, but in recognition. He knows why you are here. He too once learned to feel the hours like weight on the air. The tree offers shade now. Earlier, it did not. That alone is enough to say, the day has turned. In a courtyard across the street, a woman kneads dough. Her hands are steady, the motion repeating like a prayer. You watch her, and she does not glance up. Her eyes are on her work, but her mind, you sense, is somewhere else. Perhaps in the Psalms, perhaps with someone she once loved. Perhaps simply aware that this is the moment when the world breathes again. A soft horn calls from the Temple Mount, not loud, not meant to summon, only to signal. A gentle cry like the throat of the earth stretching. You see a group of people pause mid-step, hands settling against hips or hearts, eyes half closed. Some speak, some listen, some merely still themselves. You join them. There is no script, not really. You know the words, but more than that, you know the silence that surrounds them. You say little, you mean much. You remember stories told of a time when the cloud of glory settled over the camp, how the people would not move until it lifted. They did not rush, they did not panic. They waited, because movement without the presence was wasted effort. That same patience lives here now. Time, real time, is sacred when it bows to presence, not pressure. When the horn fades, the city does not return to noise, not yet. It lingers in the hush, as if unwilling to break the spell. Even the breeze seems to hesitate, turning gently between alleys, wrapping around prayer-worn doorways. A man picks up a jug and walks toward the well. He will draw water now, not because a bell told him to, but because he knows the jars inside will be half empty. A girl begins to sweep again, her broom whispering against the stone. A dog stretches its limbs and blinks at the light. There is motion, yes, but no rush. This is how the day unfolds, not through plans, but through rhythm, not through measurement, but through movement. You pass a scribal shop, where scrolls are stacked and sealed. Inside, a boy dips his brush in ink and begins again. Not because the hour has struck, but because his teacher has shown him the line where he left off. The scroll is long, the letters are small. There is no need to finish it today. You lean against a wall near the outer court and breathe in deeply. The incense is heavier now. It clings to the wind and the folds of robes. You close your eyes for a moment and let it enter you. This is the only appointment you keep. This stillness, this slowness, this turning of the soul toward God, not because of obligation, but because the light has changed and you are listening. And as the prayers end, and life resumes, you realize something you had forgotten. That time was never meant to control you. It was meant to carry you. And here, in this city without clocks, it still does. You walk past the narrow bend where the light now falls thicker, not golden like dawn, but white and steady. The city has woken fully now, not suddenly, but gradually, like bread rising, like a river spreading in slow circles. This is the time when hands take over, when thought gives way to task, and everyone begins their work. Not because it is scheduled, but because the light tells them it is time. You stop near the tannery first. The smell reaches you before the sounds do. A bitter tempest of water, lime, hide, and thyme. The man inside does not look up, though he hears you. His hands are deep in a barrel, pulling, folding, soaking, pressing. His arms are streaked with old stains, his face smooth with focus. He has done this since he could walk. His father did it before him. No one told him when to begin. The sun hit the corner of the wall. The bucket near the door steamed slightly, and that was enough. Further along, a woman squats beside a shallow basin, grinding something dark against a stone. Her sleeves are rolled, her fingers steady. You do not need to ask what she is making. You smell the paste of olives and herbs, the slight sting of salt, the crushed skin of garlic. Her rhythm is slow, certain, unhurried. She does not stop when someone walks past. She does not announce her presence. She simply continues, because the sun is high enough now for shadows to curl beneath the stalls, and that is when this kind of work is best done. You feel your own hands stir. It is hard not to when surrounded by movement, when the city shifts from prayer to practice. Everyone moves with their own memory of what comes next. The carpenter lifts a beam to his shoulder. The potter leans into the wheel. The boy carrying eggs watches his steps with concentration, so complete it makes you smile. There is no schedule posted. There are no reminders, but everyone knows. You pause near a field just outside the southern gate. A man is turning the earth, his back curved like a question. The soil looks hard. It resists him, but he continues, lifting, pressing, lifting again. The blade of his tool shines in the sun. It has no name for the hour, but it knows the weight of it. The work will not finish today or tomorrow, but that has never stopped him. He works as he breathes, as he waits, as he prays, not for speed, just for consistency. Inside the walls again, a woman carries wool over her shoulder. She sits on a low stool and begins to spin, one hand guiding the thread, the other steadying the spindle. You remember watching your grandmother do the same thing, the slow turn, the way her fingers moved with the precision of someone who had made time, her servant, not her master. She never rushed. She never panicked. She simply spun, and the thread never broke. The marketplace is noisier now, but not chaotic. Voices rise in patterns, familiar negotiations layered with the rustle of cloth and the clink of pottery. A man shakes a bundle of dried figs, offering them to a customer who touches them, smells them, nods, slowly. The exchange is not hasty. It is not urgent. Even here, in the place where value is traded, time feels like something that waits patiently in the corners. You step aside as a cart passes, its wheels worn to grooves by years of use. The man leading it hums a song you cannot place. It is not loud, just present. You catch the rhythm in your chest and feel yourself fall into step with it. That is how things move here. Not because they are scheduled, but because they are shared. A group of young men sit under an awning, mending nets. Their fingers move quickly, but their voices are light, joking. You understand only fragments, but it is enough. The work is real, but the time is generous. They laugh, pull, knot, and breathe in the shade. The nets will be done when they are done. The sea is not going anywhere. Near the well, a woman balances two buckets, her posture elegant despite the strain. She does not measure how long she has waited. She does not complain, She knows that each morning brings this moment, and that each morning it passes. The water is clear today. The sun reflects in it like a coin. She smiles, and you catch a glimpse of something older than time, patience shaped by repetition, joy found in endurance. You think about your own hands, what they have carried, what they have dropped, what they still remember. There are things they know how to do, even now, without being told, even without time to guide them. Stirring a pot, mending a cloth, placing fingers gently over the heartbeat of a child. You wonder how many lives have moved forward, not because of plans, but because of hands that simply kept working. In the shade of a tree, an old man carves wood, not a tool or a chair, but something smaller. A bird, maybe, or a bowl. His movements are slow, careful, not because he is old, but because he honors the grain. He does not rush the blade. He listens to the wood. Each curl that falls from his knife lands with a whisper, and the pile at his feet tells a story that no hour could measure. You sit on a low wall, watching. For a moment, you do not think about what comes next. There is no list in your head, no timer, just the steady hum of life around you, the breathing rhythm of a city that does not count its minutes, but fills them with meaning. This is the work of hands, not timed, not enforced, not praised by charts or alarms, just done, again and again, until the day grows quiet again. And somehow, that is enough. The sun has settled into its confident stride, not rising anymore, not yet falling. You walk toward the marketplace, not because you were told to, but because the scent of spice and the low murmur of many voices has reached your corner of the city. It is not loud, not yet, but full, like a bowl nearly brimming. You follow the sound, not a bell, not a cry, just the natural tug of curiosity, hunger, movement. The alleys begin to widen, and you feel the heat resting more heavily on your shoulders. Not harsh, just familiar. The kind that makes you grateful for linen and shade, and the occasional breeze that turns a corner like a friend you did not know you were missing. There is no marked hour for the market to begin. No doors unlocked at a certain time. No signs flipped from closed to open. It begins when it begins, and ends when it must. The rhythm is known, not listed. The vendors have arrived, setting out baskets, opening folds of cloth, brushing dust from figs, turning jars just so the sun makes their contents glow like treasure. You pass rows of olives slick with oil, bunches of grapes dangling like answers waiting to be given, flatbread stacked in soft cloth, the edges browned, still warm. A woman moves slowly through the stalls, eyes scanning, hand grazing a pot, a leaf, a thread. She is not hurrying. She is listening to her body, her purse, the way her own needs align with what the market is willing to share today. Someone calls to you, offering salted fish. The smell sharp but clean. You smile, not to accept, but to acknowledge. That is how it works here. There is no pressure, only presence. Each voice joins the others like wind through a field, rising and falling with the moment. The bartering begins without drama. A nod, a raised brow. A counteroffer spoken softly over a bundle of mint or dried pomegranate. The language of trade is old, soft, and without clocks. Children weave through the space, carrying baskets or trailing behind parents. They do not ask how long this will take. They do not check time. Their attention rises and falls, like the scent of honey cakes being turned over stones nearby. You follow the smell, and it leads you to a woman whose hands move like she has always known what heat means, what flour can become when mixed with care. You accept a piece. You pay what is fair. Neither of you checks a measure. The price is known without tally. The value is felt. You step aside as a donkey clatters by, its eyes half closed, as if it understands that no one here will hurry. Its owner follows, muttering something only the animal understands. A jug sloshes on one side, rope on the other. You wonder how many steps they take in a day, never counting, never rushing, always arriving when the light shifts and the body agrees. In the center of the square, a man tells stories for coins. He is not loud. His voice loops like thread through a garment. You catch the middle of a tale, something about a lost ring and a clever daughter, and even though you did not hear the beginning, you already feel at home inside it. A few listeners lean in, their heads tilted. A child rests his chin on his knees. No one asks how long the story will last. They stay as long as it holds them. Near the edges of the market, old women sit on low stools, their fingers weaving dried reeds into baskets. One of them hums, another fans herself with a folded palm leaf. Their eyes are more watchful than they seem. They have seen this market change its face 1,000 times, though the pace has never changed. They do not keep time. They keep rhythm, a different thing entirely. A clay seller has laid out his work in a simple display. No numbers, no shining signs, just bowls and jars and pitchers, each one touched by fire and shaped by hand. You run your fingers along the edge of one. It is smooth and slightly cool. The maker watches you, says nothing. He knows you are deciding with more than price. You are deciding with your memory, your need, your sense of what feels right to carry home. Across the square, a young girl sells herbs tied in cloth. You see her scan the sky, not for birds, but for the color of the light. She folds her hands when the shadow from the gate reaches the middle of the third stone. That is how she knows her time is ending. She does not need to be told. She has been watching the wall since morning. No one rings a bell to end the market. It fades, like smoke, like laughter after a meal. Slowly, softly, without lines. The bread is mostly gone. The voices are fewer. The traders sit longer between customers, their eyes turning toward the sun, toward the road, toward home. You walk through what remains. The dust is thicker now. The heat has peaked and begun to retreat. You see scraps of cloth, olive pits, the last flies buzzing near sweet things. But even this is gentle. There is no rush to clean, no panic to close. Just the knowing that it is time and that tomorrow will bring it all again. And you realize, once more, that in this place, minutes are not what people follow. They follow hunger, weather, memory, and God. The day tells them what it needs, and they listen. You look up at the sun. It is no longer above you. It leans ever so slightly, and with it, so do you. You begin to notice what you have always known, but rarely named, the sounds of the city without clocks. Not the clatter of machinery or the chimes of fixed hours, but the layered music of a place where time is not announced, but lived. The ground beneath your feet does not tremble with urgency. It listens, it absorbs, it responds. Every stone, every shadow, every echo contributes to a symphony older than numbers. The streets have their own breath, and you walk with it. A sandal drags across uneven ground, then another. A child's voice rises in a game you do not recognize. The rules improvised, the victory unimportant. Water spills from a jar somewhere behind you, the splash muted by fabric, caught by the dust. Nothing rings, nothing beeps, but everything speaks. You follow a narrow street lined with small homes and shuttered corners. Someone is singing, not for performance, not for anyone in particular, just singing because the air is warm and the voice needs to move. It is an old melody, one your grandmother used to hum while folding linen or waiting for stew to thicken. You stop and let it wash over you, the words half-formed, more vibration than meaning. The notes find their way through doorways and drift across rooftops. From the direction of the temple, you hear a low chant. Not loud, not urgent, just steady. A call not meant to summon, but to center. Even if you cannot make out the words, you feel the rhythm, like a heartbeat at rest. Others nearby pause as well, not out of obligation, but recognition. This is the hour of silence, wearing sound. A voice is wrapped in reverence. A man sharpens a blade outside a stall. The stone wheel turns slowly, rhythmically, and the scrape is not jarring. It joins the day, it belongs. You walk past, and he nods without speaking, his foot pressing the pedal in a way that says he has done this for years. The sound of his work fades as you turn a corner, and another layer begins. A merchant rearranges clay pots with careful hands, the clinks soft and hollow, the kind of sound you feel in your chest before you fully hear it. In the alley beyond, a dog barks once, not in alarm, but in conversation. A wooden door creaks as someone enters, and the hinges do not hide their age. They sing their own slow song of repetition. You pause at a courtyard where women are washing clothes in large basins. The water slaps gently, again and again, cloth hitting stone with a rhythm as old as any prayer. They speak in low tones, laughter tucked inside their words like salt and bread, faint but essential. One of them begins to hum, and the others fall into step without instruction. This is how time moves here, not in commands, but in companionship. You'll realize that every sound around you has a place. None are wasted. Even the silence carries tone. The city breathes in layers, and those layers rise and fall like the sea. You remember walking through other places where noise came sharp and fast, designed to demand, not to support. Here, the sounds hold you, they do not push you. A man leads a cart across the square. The wheels protest quietly, wooden edges worn uneven. The donkey snorts once, then twice, its hooves striking stone with muffled rhythm. The man whistles, not a melody, just a few notes, not to hurry the animal, but to let it know he is present. A boy nearby imitates the whistle, giggling as the donkey flicks its ears. These are not distractions, they are part of the song. Someone sweeps a threshold behind you, the bristles soft and steady. The sweep continues, even after you turn the corner. You realize that sound does not end when you leave it. It follows, carried on the same air that cools your neck and rustles the fringe of your garment. You hear pots being stacked. You hear fingers drumming on a wooden counter. You hear a spoon stirring something thick. You hear breath, human and animal, soft and shared. You hear footsteps, not as signals of time passing, but of time being filled. When the wind picks up, it gathers these sounds and weaves them into a kind of hush. Not a silence, but a smoothing, as if the city has taken a long breath and exhaled gently over its own shoulder. You pass beneath a tree, heavy with fruit, and above you, bees hum with focus, not frenzied, just present. Their sound is different, but not foreign. It is part of the same rhythm. They have no clocks either, but they know what to do and when to do it. You remember hearing once that, in the beginning, God spoke the world into being, and now, you think, maybe he never stopped. Maybe this city, this life, this hour is still part of that same breath, still speaking, still singing, and you, without realizing, have joined the song. You turn a corner and hear laughter before you see its source. It is not sharp or loud, just the sound of joy without reason, the kind of laughter that does not need to explain itself. It echoes between walls and dances across rooftops. You follow it, slowly, letting your steps become softer, as if you do not want to disturb the very rhythm that is unfolding. There they are, a group of children running barefoot through the dust, chasing each other between doorways and empty baskets. Their feet kick up small clouds. Their voices carry the lightness of people who have never worn a watch, who have never been told they are running out of time. You stop and watch, unnoticed, as one girl circles a boy 3 times, then taps him on the shoulder and darts away, laughing as he spins after her. There is no whistle to start the game, no timer to end it. They run because the ground is dry, because the shade is wide, because the moment feels full. You wonder how they know when to stop. But they always do. One by one, they slow, not from command, but from rhythm, collapsing into small heaps of limbs and breath. Laughing through the stillness they have created, a boy sits on a low step, carving a stick with a stone. He is not making anything in particular, just shaping, just learning the feel of one thing against another. His face is a study in calm. The sun rests gently on his shoulder, and you know he will stay there until it moves, until the light tells him it is time to go. Nearby, two girls are crouched over a piece of cloth. They are pretending to stitch it, the needle missing, the thread imagined, but the care in their movements unmistakable. One of them hums a lullaby you have not heard in years. And though she misses notes and repeats lines, the tune settles in your chest like something returned. A toddler waddles toward a jar, his arms outstretched, his balance unsure, but growing. He touches the jar, and then turns back, triumphant. No one claps, but he grins, and that is enough. Time for him is measured in discoveries, not in numbers. Every object is new, every step a beginning. A group of older boys stands in a loose circle, tossing pebbles at a mark drawn in the dust. They speak quickly, trading rules that shift with each round. The game changes as they play it, not because they are careless, but because they are creating time, not following it. One of them looks up, sees the position of the sun, and steps back. He nods to the others, and just like that, the game ends. They wander off, scattering like birds startled but unafraid. You sit beneath the shade of a fig tree, its leaves large and whispering. The laughter of the children fades slightly, replaced by the quieter sounds of imagination. A boy traces shapes in the dust with a stick, drawing what might be letters, or animals, or nothing at all. His tongue sticks out in concentration, his back curved gently, his hand steady. He is not thinking of time. He is thinking of the line that comes next. Two girls braid each other's hair, not hurriedly, not expertly, just with tenderness. Their hands move like their mothers must have, and their grandmothers before that. They do not speak, but the silence between them is not empty. It is full of understanding, of stories not yet told, of mornings spent like this one, in the simple closeness of shared routine. A dog lies curled nearby, eyes half open, tail flicking now and then. The children include him in their games sometimes, offering scraps, chasing his tail, laying next to him in the sun. He accepts all of it with the ease of someone who has nothing else to do, and no need to pretend otherwise. You look around and realize that there are no markers of time here, no bells, no horns, no signs. But the children know what hour it is, by the shape of the shadows, by the warmth of the stones, by the way their stomachs begin to speak. They know that soon someone will call them for food, or a task, or a rest. And they will come, not because they are told the time, but because they feel it. A girl sings to herself while balancing a stone on her head, walking with slow grace from one side of the courtyard to the other. Each step is careful, each moment stretched. She is not racing. She is teaching herself the balance between play and control. Her stone falls and she catches it midair, laughing, then starts again. You see now that childhood in this city is not divided by hours. It is divided by light, by temperature, by the sound of mothers clapping twice to signal a return. It is full of pauses and freedom, of soft beginnings and unscheduled endings. You hear a voice, low and familiar, calling one of the children home. The boy stands, brushes dust from his legs, and runs, not because he must, but because he is ready. The others follow suit, drifting away like leaves carried on a quiet breeze. Within minutes, the courtyard is still, and you sit there, feeling the echo of their play. Not hurried, not counted, just lived. The stone beneath you is warm now, and in its warmth, you hear the last laugh fading into the air, like a story not finished, but waiting for another day. The stillness after the children fade is not quiet. It is a different kind of rhythm, the kind that prepares the soul for something softer, something inward. You hear it in the way footsteps change, in the way conversations end, not with final words, but with a breath left hanging. You know what is coming, not because a clock tells you, but because the air itself seems to lean towards stillness. It is the hour of prayer, though no one says the word aloud. They do not need to. The streets begin to empty, as naturally as water finding its way back to the sea. You see it happen in small ways, A woman smoothing her garment and pulling a cloth over her head. A merchant folding the edge of his stall with careful fingers. A boy wiping his face with water from a clay bowl, letting it drip down like a blessing. There is no single direction people face. Not yet, but their thoughts begin to turn. The ninth hour draws near, and with it, the sacred pause, the holy silence. The time when the noise of the world bows its head and waits. You feel it too. Your body remembers, even before your mind speaks the words. You sit on a low bench near the temple wall, where a vine grows along the cracks in the stone. You close your eyes for a moment, and in that moment, you are not alone. Around you, the city slows, not stops, just slows. Work is set aside, hands become still, mouths go quiet. Not out of fear or pressure, but out of reverence. This is not interruption. This is alignment. You open your eyes and see a father placing his hands on his child's shoulders, whispering something you cannot hear. The child closes his eyes, then leans against his father's chest. They stay that way for a moment, and the moment does not feel long or short. It just is. From the direction of the temple, a sound begins, not loud, not startling, a horn perhaps, or a single deep note carried on the wind. It is not a command, it is a reminder, a whisper to the soul that something holy is happening, not because it must, but because it always has. People do not hurry. They do not rush to catch a time that might slip away. They move like the sun moves, steadily, gently, without alarm. A woman kneels near the corner of her home, her palms upturned. A group of travelers pause at the city gate, forming a loose circle, their heads bowed. A man stops in the middle of the path and simply stands, his shadow stretched behind him like a prayer not yet spoken. You close your eyes again, and this time, you begin to speak. Not loudly, not with ceremony, just with the words that have been waiting in the quiet part of you. They are not new, they are not perfect, but they belong here, now, in this breath between tasks, in this sacred interruption that does not feel like a break, but like a return. You think, you ask, you remember, you surrender. When your eyes open once more, the world is not changed, and yet it has. The wind feels softer, the light warmer, the sound of footsteps beginning again more sure of themselves. Around you, others begin to rise, not like people waking from sleep, but like those who have remembered something and are ready to carry it with them again. You walk toward the shade of a fig tree, where a few men gather in quiet conversation. They speak of scripture, not with argument, but with wonder. One of them recites a line from the Psalms, and the others nod slowly, not because they agree, but because they understand. The words are old, but they are alive. You sit nearby, not to speak, just to listen. The leaves above you rustle, a soft punctuation to the wisdom being shared. Someone passes by offering water, and you accept it with a grateful nod. The cup is cool, and the water sweeter than it needs to be. You remember now that this is what the day is made for. Not only for work, or movement, or survival, but for this. For pausing, for turning toward what matters, for speaking without rush, and listening without fear. A child approaches, carrying a small bundle wrapped in cloth. He sits next to one of the elders, and offers it with both hands. Inside, bread still warm from a midday fire. The elder breaks a piece and hands it to the child, then takes another for himself. They eat without speaking, and you realize that this too is prayer. Prayer is not always words. Sometimes it is breath. Sometimes it is bread. Sometimes it is a silence shared beneath a tree in the hour when the sun begins to shift. You take another breath, deeper now, fuller. You feel it settle in your chest, slow and steady. You close your eyes once more, not to escape, but to stay. So, if this moment of stillness has spoken to you, if this rhythm of reverence feels like something worth holding on to, take a moment now to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Not because you must, but because you want to hear more, to be part of more sacred pauses like this. You lean back slightly, the stone behind you warm, the air fragrant with dust and jasmine, the world quieter now, not empty, just calm. This is not the end of the day, but it is a holy moment in its center, and it is enough. You notice him before he notices you, a man at the edge of the market, his clothes too bright, his sandals too stiff, his eyes scanning everything and settling on nothing. He carries a small satchel and adjusts it often, not because it is heavy, but because he does not yet know how it should sit. He is a traveler, a stranger in a city where time is felt and not told. He pauses in front of a stall, selling spices. He leans forward, breathes in the scent of cardamom and dried citrus, then pulls back, blinking. He is not confused, only overwhelmed by the richness of a world that does not move to the ticking of the same rhythm he left behind. You watch him for a while, and he becomes a mirror. In his hands, the scroll of this place is still unopened. He walks with purpose, but too quickly. He stops often, not because he needs to, but because he has not yet learned the pattern. There is no map for this kind of time, no chart for a city without clocks. He turns left when he should linger. He checks the sky as if it owes him something. But slowly, you see it, the shift. He begins to move less like a visitor and more like someone who is listening. He sits beside a fountain, and it holds him longer than he expected. The sound of the water is not rushed. It flows steadily, echoing against stone, catching sunlight in droplets that fall like blessings. A child dips her hand in the stream, then flicks it upward, laughing as the spray catches her face. The man smiles, and in that smile, a crack appears in his hurry. You remember when you were new here, how difficult it was to let go of the need to know, to schedule, to press the day into shapes it did not want to take. You wanted to be on time, but there was no time to be on. You wanted to prepare, but there was no list to follow. You simply had to be here, fully, without counting. He rises and walks toward a small group seated near the temple wall. One of them gestures, and the man approaches, hesitant at first, then more naturally. They speak slowly. The man leans in, listening more than talking. The rhythm of the city begins to settle around him, like dust that chooses where to land. He asks questions. You cannot hear the words, but you recognize the shape of them. What time does the market close? When will the temple be open? How long is the walk to the olive grove? Each question shaped by expectation, by a world with alarms and agendas. But the answers, you know, will not follow that logic. The answers will sound like maybe, like when the sun is lower, like after the third shadow crosses the gate. He does not frown. He nods. He does not take notes. He remembers. The pace of this city will not fit inside a bag. It must be carried in the body. You walk a little closer and pass behind the group. You hear one of the elders say something about trust, how it grows, like bread rises, quietly, steadily, without being watched. The man nods again, and this time, it feels different. The nod is slower, heavier with understanding. Later, you see him near the olive press, watching the slow crush of fruit under stone. The oil seeps out, golden and thick, and he watches it not with calculation, but with reverence. His hands rest on the edge of the wall, and he says nothing. He does not ask how long it will take. He does not ask when it will be ready. He simply watches. You sit nearby, not too close, but close enough to share the silence. A boy walks by, offering bread in a woven basket. The man takes a piece and thanks him, then breaks it carefully. He eats slowly. He watches the sky. There is no clock in this city, only shadow and warmth, only breath and dust, only the sound of footsteps knowing where they need to go. And now, this man, this traveler, moves like he belongs to the space between moments. He stops not because he is lost, but because he has found something worth lingering in. You realize then that a city without clocks is not confusing, only unfamiliar. It is not unstructured, only unhurried. It teaches by feeling, not by force. and those who stay long enough to listen often leave with a new kind of silence tucked inside them. As the light begins to soften, the man stands. He looks around, not with urgency, but with peace. He turns down a quiet street, walking at a pace that matches the dust, the shadow, the prayer still hanging in the air. And you smile, knowing that time has not abandoned him. It has simply invited him to walk beside it, instead of chasing after it. You stand in the courtyard again, the one near the southern wall where the sun lays its light flat and long across the stone. The shadows now stretch in ways that speak more clearly than any written hour. You begin to understand why no one here needs a clock. The walls tell the story. The shadows write the hour. A line of darkness has crept slowly across the steps, reaching the second one now. By the time it touches the third, a pot will be lifted from the fire, a prayer will be whispered, a meal served. No alarm will sound, but everyone will know. You walk beside one of these walls, its surface worn smooth by years of touch and weather. Along the bottom, stones have darkened with time and memory. This part of the city reads the sun like a scroll. Its corners and ledges mark, not minutes, but moments. The people here do not measure, they observe. Near a quiet alcove, a man kneels, a stick in hand, tracing something into the dust. You move closer and see that he is mapping the shadow's journey. His marks are not rigid. They curve gently, shaped by experience. He glances at the wall, then back to the ground, then to the sky, his expression calm and familiar, like someone greeting a friend who arrives exactly when expected. He looks up and sees you watching. He smiles and gestures toward the mark he just made. It means the time to prepare for evening is near. He does not say this with words, but with the quiet confidence of someone who has never needed a number to feel ready. Farther down the street, a group of children press their hands against a wall, giggling as their fingers cast long shadows beside them. They count how far their hands stretch, laugh when one outpaces the others. This is their sundial. This is their game. They are not learning math. They are learning the language of light. You remember the stories of kings who kept water clocks, who measured their days with stones falling in bowls, or ropes dripping oil. Clever, yes, but distant. Here, time is nearer. It walks with you. It falls across your shoulder. It pulls at your feet. You cannot command it, but you can recognize it. In the temple courts, someone has arranged a line of clay jars, evenly spaced, each one catching the changing angle of the sun. The first is almost full of light. The last already sits in shade. You realize that no one will move them. They will sit where they are until the day ends, and then tomorrow they will begin again. You pass by a home where an old woman leans against the doorframe, watching the same shadow inch across her floor. She does not move. She simply waits, knowing that when the light leaves her doorstep, it is time to bring in the drying herbs, to cover the bread, to hush the younger ones. She does not need to think. Her body remembers. The wall is her clock, the earth her calendar, the air her reminder. You stop beneath a fig tree, its branches shifting with the wind, casting broken patterns on the stone. You follow one particular patch of light as it slips from the tree's edge to the hem of your robe. You do not move. You let it reach you, warm and golden, a soft echo of the day's journey. It tells you more than any device could. It tells you that you have been present, that you have walked with the sun, that your shadow too has lengthened. A man nearby arranges prayer stones on a cloth, their colors rich, their surfaces worn. He aligns them not by pattern, but by shadow. You see that each one catches the light differently. Together, they reflect a quiet glow, like a memory held open. He nods at them, not to admire, but to affirm. He knows their placement is correct. The light has confirmed it. You turn back toward the main street, now quieter, gentler, its earlier energy softened by lengthening lines. You see shadows wrapping around baskets, creeping up columns, touching the tips of sandals left near the threshold. Even the animals seem to notice. A goat curls beside a wall, its eyes half closed, its breath slow and steady. There is something sacred in how the city listens. It does not interrupt. It does not rush. It watches the sun and waits. It learns the meaning of each curve, each shift, each pause. It knows when the light flattens against the walls, it is time to rest. It knows when the shadow crosses the threshold, it is time to return home. You sit again, this time near the place where the dust gathers most quietly. You place your hand on the ground, feel the warmth that lingers. You trace a small shadow with your finger. It feels like drawing on parchment, like adding your own mark to a story that is already being written by light. And as the city exhales, as the sky deepens just slightly, as the shadows grow sure and wide, you realize that here, you are never waiting for time to pass. You are walking with it, always beside it, never chasing it, never left behind. You step through a narrow archway, away from the main path, into a quieter space, where light filters more softly and voices are lower, shaped by the work of hands and the rhythm of care. This is the heart of another kind of time, one not marked by shadows on stone or horns from the temple, but by repetition, by memory, by intuition passed through generations. Here, the women move steadily, not in silence, but in understanding. They do not speak of time in numbers, they speak of it in dough that has risen, in wool that is ready, in water that has cooled just enough to bathe a baby or rinse herbs. Their clocks are not made of gears, they are made of fingers, heat, scent, and pause. One sits beside a basin, washing lentils with slow, swirling motions. She hums as she works, not for others to hear, but for herself, for the rhythm of breath and movement to stay even. Her sleeves are rolled, her hands stained faintly by the earth. She has done this many times, and though the days change, the pattern does not. Near her, two women press oil from olives, their palms pushing and folding the pulp through cloth. They lean into the task like dancers, one pressing while the other steadies, then switching without needing to speak. A child watches, wide-eyed, mimicking their motions in the dust with sticks. She does not know yet what the rhythm means, but already it is sinking into her bones. Another woman kneels beside a loom, threading colored yarn between rows, her eyes sharp, her hands graceful. The pattern she weaves is not written, not charted, but remembered. She glances up only to smile at the older woman beside her, who nods, approving. They are not in a hurry. The fabric will be done when the light has shifted enough, when the breeze from the window carries the smell of evening, when the task, not the clock, says it is finished. You sit on a low stool, watching. No one asks why you are here. They know that sometimes, to understand this kind of time, you must simply be near it. You see how one prepares lentils while another grinds spices. You see one slice fruit while another mends a tear in a tunic. Every action is part of something larger, woven into the hours with a gentleness that does not ask for credit. Children pass through now and then, bringing water, asking questions, offering hands too small but always willing. They are taught not by lesson, but by presence. A girl picks up a bundle of herbs and lays it on the cloth to dry, her movements clumsy but careful. An older woman says nothing, just reaches out to shift one sprig slightly. The girl watches, nods, and remembers. The sound in this courtyard is not loud, but layered. The grind of stone, the whisper of cloth, the bubbling of something in a pot just out of view. It is the sound of time passing in circles, not in lines, each task folding into the next, each motion tied to something ancient and essential. You notice how the light plays here, different from the market, different from the temple. It lands on the shoulders of a woman brushing crumbs from a blanket. It flickers across the surface of a clay jar. It touches the braid of a girl seated in the corner, weaving straw into the base of a basket. This light does not mark the hour, it blesses it. In a corner, an elderly woman sits with a spindle, twisting thread between her fingers. Her face is lined, her gaze steady. She does not speak, but her hands do. They move with knowledge that cannot be rushed, cannot be taught by instruction, only by watching, by failing, by trying again. She is the keeper of a calendar made of seasons and stories, not of numbers. You breathe in the scent of thyme and flower and warm water. You feel the heat from a nearby fire, hear the crackle of wood giving itself to flame. There are no bells here, only the low murmur of questions asked and answered without urgency. Someone begins to hum. It is not a song you know, but its shape is familiar. It moves in loops, not verses. Others join, not all at once, but slowly, each adding a note, a harmony, a breath. You close your eyes, and for a moment, the sound wraps around you like a shawl. You open them again and see that the light has shifted. A few women rise, beginning to gather tools, to stack bowls, to brush flour from the table. It is not a command, it is a knowing. The next part of the day has arrived, not with a signal, but with a sense, with a feeling in the body that enough has been done, and something new must begin. You stand, nod politely, and step away. They do not stop. They do not watch you go. They continue, their rhythm unchanged, their task still unfolding. And as you walk back toward the street, you carry with you the quiet certainty of what you have seen, that in this place, time is not kept, it is lived. And the women, with their hands and their voices, and their endless return to what is needed, hold it in place. You feel it before you see it, the shift in mood, the murmur in the air, the way the people begin to move, not with routine, but with anticipation. Something different is coming, something not bound to the usual flow of work and rest. The rhythm of the city changes, not sharply, but like a melody slowing into a new verse. It is the eve of a festival. Streets are swept more carefully, jars washed twice, cloth hung where the wind will catch it. There is no alarm to remind them. No calendar hung on the wall with red marks. They know the day because they feel it, the way birds know the time to turn. The way trees lean toward light before it fully arrives. You walk past a courtyard where branches are being gathered, not for fuel, but for celebration. Palm leaves, myrtle, and willow, laid in careful bundles. A boy carries a basket of pomegranates, lifting it with both hands, his arms trembling with the weight. He does not complain. He knows what they are for. This is not just food. It is joy, preparation, the fruit of a season now made holy. The city feels different. Even the light seems to carry a sweetness, as if it has been softened by the prayers rising in so many homes. You pass a doorway where a woman hangs a new curtain, her fingers smoothing the fabric as she hums. A child beside her is sweeping, not because he must, but because he understands this is a day worth honoring. Inside the market, stalls glow with color. Dates stacked like little towers, jars of honey catching the sun, figs laid open to show their hearts. Voices are louder here, not hurried, but bright. People bargain with smiles, not scowls. They know what is coming, and they are making ready, not with fear of lateness, but with reverence. You see men carrying baskets filled with bread and wine, their steps slow, their expressions warm. A woman sells embroidered cloths stitched with phrases from old songs. She sings one softly as she arranges them, not to attract customers, but because the melody fits the moment. There is no clock in this city to announce the start of a feast. The temple bell will not ring louder. There will be no cannon to signal sunset. Instead, someone will light a lamp, and others will see it and follow. Bread will be broken, not at a specific minute, but at the moment when hands and hearts are ready. You walk past the temple steps, where men and women gather to offer thanks, some aloud, some in silence. The offerings are simple, the gestures quiet, but the meaning runs deep. This is time turned inside out. Time not measured, but sanctified. Time held open like a door. The festival erases the rules of the ordinary day. Work is put down, debt is forgotten. Rest is commanded, but gently, like a friend insisting you sit, insisting you taste something sweet. The sun lowers itself behind the city, and no one checks how many degrees remain. They know. They have always known. You are invited into a home. You do not knock. You are expected. A place has been made for you, with a small cup and a folded cloth. Others arrive, and no one asks who is late or early. They greet each other with warmth, with hands over hearts, with eyes that understand what it means to pause together. The meal is not rushed. Each dish is passed slowly, hands lingering just a little longer on bowls, on spoons, on bread still warm. Laughter rises now and then, and no one quiets it. The room fills with stories, with toasts, with memory. There is no sequence to follow, no agenda to complete. The evening moves like a river, bending and stretching, carrying everyone forward without force. A child begins to sing a line from an old hymn, and others join in, one by one, until the whole room is humming. The tune is not polished, but it is alive. The walls seem to breathe with it. Even the shadows lean in. Later, you step outside and find others in the street, sitting by lamps, speaking softly, leaning close. Some walk, barefoot, just to feel the earth in the stillness. Others gaze at the stars, remembering promises made under skies like this one, long before clocks, long before numbers, when time was held in the hand, like oil or salt. You remember now why these festivals matter. They do not just mark the season. They free you from it. They tell you to stop, to open, to receive. They remind you that the world turns not by your doing, but by grace. That time can be sacred not because it is counted, but because it is blessed. And as you close your eyes, standing in the cool evening air, you feel no pressure, no pull. You are not being timed. You are being invited. You notice it slowly, the way the light has softened, how it no longer stretches, but settles, how it rests on the walls, rather than climbs them. The city exhales again, not with fatigue, but with relief. The work is behind, the prayers are spoken, the celebration has left its scent in the air. Now, evening comes, not as an ending, but as a return. There are no alarms to signal this change, no chimes or warnings, only the golden hue that touches everything, only the way footsteps become fewer, slower, softer. You pass an open window and smell lentils cooling, the quiet final simmer of stew on stone. A bowl is set on a ledge, not for show, not for ritual, just because it is time to eat, and someone remembered, someone else would be hungry. You hear laughter again, but it is different now, lower, warmer, the kind of laughter that wraps itself in cloth and stays inside. Doors do not close harshly, they lean into their frames, heavy with the day. Curtains are drawn, not to block out the world, but to welcome in peace. You stop near a small courtyard where an oil lamp flickers on a low table. Its glow is soft, dancing against the clay wall. Around it, a family gathers, heads bowed in conversation. Not all at once, not over each other, but in turn, like petals unfolding in the dark. A woman cradles a baby, rocking gently, whispering something only they understand. The baby's eyes are wide, then heavier, then gone. You walk slowly now, more aware of your own breath. It matches the air, the evening, the hush that comes not from silence, but from care. Someone sweeps the last of the day's dust into a corner. Someone else pours water into a jar for the night. A boy lights another lamp, the flame catching after the second try. No one hurries. The darkness is not a threat, it is a friend returning. You sit at the edge of a stone ledge where you can see rooftops and shadows. One by one, lights appear. Not like stars blinking on, but like memories being kindled. A figure sits on a roof with a cup in hand, watching nothing in particular. Another walks along a narrow path, head bowed, hands behind back, like someone who still has thoughts to untangle before sleep. There is no official bedtime here. No digital reminder, no buzz to tell you to stop. Instead, there is rhythm. The cooling of the stones, the hush of the animals, the turning of the earth just far enough to suggest that night has begun. You glance up at the sky. It has lost its blue, now holding on to the first deep purple of night. A few stars peek through, hesitant but steady. You remember when you were younger, how bedtime felt like a command. Here, it feels like an invitation. A woman sets down a bowl of warm milk, stirs it twice, then carries it inside. You follow her with your eyes, not because of what she does, but how she does it. Her motion is soft, shaped by years of this same moment. Never exactly the same, always exactly enough. You lean back against the wall and let your own eyes rest. You feel the stone's warmth still lingering from the day. A breeze finds you, cool and dry, lifting a strand of hair, brushing your face like a gentle question. Are you ready to stop? To be still? To rest? The answer is yes. From a nearby window, a voice sings, low and steady. The words are old, maybe sacred, maybe only remembered. You do not need to know their meaning. You feel it. It lands softly, like dust, like dew, like sleep, waiting on the edge of your thoughts. Someone brings a jug inside. Someone ties the last rope. Someone whispers a final story. You hear all of it, as if it were for you. And as the lamps flicker, and the voices fade, and the darkness becomes gentle and full, you understand again that this city does not sleep because time demands it. It sleeps because it has lived well today, and that is enough. You remain where you are, sitting just outside the last glow of a lantern, the world around you slipping deeper into quiet. The footsteps have faded, the voice is now only a soft murmur behind doors. The breeze the only thing that continues to move without hesitation. You do not feel alone. You feel held, as if the city itself has laid a hand on your shoulder and said, "Rest now, it is time." The ground is cool beneath you, the stone holding a trace of warmth, like a memory fading gently from your skin. You shift slightly, pulling your cloak closer, not to shield from cold, but to signal to yourself that the day is ending. There is no need to check a device, no light to flash, no number to count down. The silence is your answer. The peace is your permission. In one home, someone opens a wooden box and places a piece of folded cloth inside. A gesture so small, but it holds the day within it. In another, an old man lies down slowly, his body creaking like the doors he passed through, his breath settling into a rhythm that sounds like prayer. He does not count sheep. He counts blessings, or memories, or nothing at all. You look up again, and the sky is full now. Stars not twinkling as much as standing guard. The moon is quiet, generous, unhurried. It offers its light not to command, but to comfort. You breathe it in. You feel the weight of your eyelids, not from exhaustion, but from stillness, from the soft unraveling of thought into dream. There are no lights left in the marketplace. The stalls are bare, the baskets empty, the ground swept clean. A cat passes between shadows, its steps soundless, its mission unknown. It is not watched, not followed. Like the night, it is free. A child stirs in sleep, murmurs something, then sighs and rolls closer to warmth. A mother watches for a moment, then turns back to her blanket, satisfied. She knows there will be another day, another chance to need, to carry, to sing, but not now. Now is for rest, not escape, but return. You lie back slowly, your head against the folded cloth you carry with you. It smells faintly of spice and sun. The world above tilts slightly, the stars aligning in patterns you do not need to name. You feel yourself drifting, not falling, not slipping, but floating gently, like a piece of thread released into water. You do not know the time, but that is the point. Here, the time knows you. It wraps around you like the dark, like the hush of voices too tired to speak, like the way your chest rises and falls without effort. You hear one last door close. You hear a whisper that might be a prayer, or might be a goodbye. You hear the rustle of leaves, the wings of a bird shifting high in a tree. the final hush of wind before it rests. And then, you hear nothing at all. Only your breath, and the distant heartbeat of a city, asleep, faithful, and unmeasured. You do not count how many moments pass. You do not need to. You are no longer in time. You are in peace. You dream of home, though you are not sure what that word means anymore. In the dream, the stones are warm, the trees full, the voices familiar. But when you wake, the scent of the earth is different. The walls are not yours, and the language you hear from the window does not quite belong to your tongue. You rise slowly, not because you are eager, but because the morning has come again, even here, in exile. The sun lifts itself over a land not promised, and yet it still gives light. You sit by the edge of a small courtyard, unfamiliar, yet safe, and you watch as the city around you begins its quiet return to movement. Not the same city you once knew, but one that breathes in its own rhythm, one that still gives you space to pray, to work, to wait. You think of how many steps brought you here, of how many names were left behind, of how many memories no longer match the place where your feet now stand. You think of the songs you once sang, now whispered only at night, for fear of forgetting them completely. The exile is not only in the land, it is in the silence, in the pause between what was and what is. Still, the body must move, and so you do. You gather water, you prepare the meal, you sweep the dust. The dust is the same as it was back home, and yet it is not. Here, everything carries a weight, even the most ordinary task. You lift the jug not only for thirst, but to remember. You stir the pot not only for nourishment, but for memory. Every motion becomes a kind of prayer. There are others here with you, strangers once, now neighbors, now almost kin. You pass a woman who once lived in the city below the hill, where the trumpet sounded at sunrise. She now lives behind a broken wall, but she still braids her hair the same way, still wraps bread in the same cloth, still looks at the sky with the same question. A man sits on a stone bench, his hands wrapped in silence. You have never heard him speak loudly, but his posture tells stories. He was once a teacher, you think, once someone who pointed at scrolls and smiled when a child remembered a line. Now, he marks time by the cracks in the wall, by the morning light that lands differently than it once did. You gather at dusk with the others. No one tells you when to come, but still you arrive, always at the same place, always around the same time, when the shadows begin to grow and the air loses its heat. Someone brings a small flame, and it is passed from hand to hand. You sing, not loudly, not together, but overlapping threads of memory, weaving into something whole. There are no trumpets here, no processions, no ropes pressed with oil, but there is reverence. You know now that sacredness does not need grandeur. It needs attention, patience, the willingness to stop and remember even when nothing around you looks familiar. A boy plays in the dirt nearby, his hands covered in dust. He hums a tune you once knew, a lullaby perhaps, or a verse from a psalm. You close your eyes and let it rise in your chest, where it had been waiting. The tune carries you somewhere else, not backward, but inward. You walk later through the edge of the settlement, where the olive trees grow in wild rows, untamed, untended. You place your hand on one, its bark rough, its leaves silver. You whisper the words of a prayer you thought you had forgotten. The tree does not answer, but it holds your touch, and that is enough. In exile, you learn to mark time differently, not by festivals, not by temple gates, but by longing, by resilience, by the weight of remembering. Each morning is a triumph, each evening a kind of return. You do not count days, you gather them. You carry them in the fold of your cloak, in the lines of your palms, in the gaze you offer to the stars. At night, you lie down not on a mat from home, but on one given to you by someone who also lost something. The threads are rougher, but they hold. You stare at the sky, and you do not name the constellations. You simply let them be. You think of the psalmist, sitting by the rivers of Babylon, hanging his harp on the willows. You understand now why he could not sing, and also why he still wrote. The song was not for the captors. It was for the silence, for the space inside him that refused to be emptied. And so you sleep, not in peace, but in quiet courage. You do not dream of return. You dream of holding on. And even in this distant place, where the language is strange, and the hours are unmeasured, you feel something steady inside you, a rhythm not taken, a pulse not broken. Time in exile is still time, and it still belongs to you. You wake before the light, not to an alarm, not to a sound, but to a sense that the day is near, already stirring somewhere beyond the stillness. The city has not yet stretched its limbs. The roosters are quiet. The stones remain cool beneath your feet. You step outside, not to begin something, but to witness it. The sky above you is velvet, fading slowly toward blue, and the silence holds the shape of something sacred. You walk through the narrow paths, past doors still closed, past wells untouched since nightfall. The air smells of dew, of clay, of rest that has not yet lifted. You breathe in deeply, and you are reminded of the stories, the ones told in soft voices, by firelight. The ones where God walked with people in the garden, not with thunder, but with footsteps. Not in urgency, but in rhythm. The world around you does not rush. A single bird calls out, then waits. A cat stretches beneath a fig tree, not hunting, not hiding, just being. You lean against the wall near the synagogue, and you do not pray with words. Not at first. You listen. You listen for the quiet beat that has always been there, beneath the surface of things. Behind the noise of markets and meals, the pulse that holds everything together. It is not the rhythm of tasks or hours, not of sunrise and sunset, though it weaves through both. It is the rhythm of God, the unmeasured flow of presence, of meaning that does not need to be explained. You have felt it before, in the way someone reaches for another's hand without needing to speak, in the way bread is passed from palm to palm, in the silence between verses of a song sung too slowly to forget. You begin to walk again, the sky now pale, the first threads of light catching rooftops and baskets and quiet clay. Someone opens a door and looks out, not surprised to see you, not startled by the day. They nod, as if to say, yes, it has begun again, and we are here for it. You pass a tree whose branches reach toward nothing in particular, and you remember the words, the ones carved into your memory, the ones that speak of seasons, of planting and harvesting, of fruit that comes in its time. No one can rush the fig to ripen. No one can hurry the rain. And so it is with the soul. The rhythm of God is not a schedule. It is a current. It moves through sorrow and laughter alike, through wilderness and abundance, through exile and homecoming. You cannot hold it. You can only join it. A child passes you, skipping with no destination, her steps light, her eyes bright. She turns a corner and is gone. You smile, not because of what she did, but because of how she moved, in time, with something older than herself. You stop near a vineyard. The vines twist and lean, shaped not by design, but by light, by water, by patience. A man walks between the rows, his robe brushing the ground, his hands behind his back. He does not carry tools, he carries time. He looks at the leaves, not judging, just noticing. You know he will return tomorrow, and the next day, and he will wait until the grapes are ready. No sooner, no later. You close your eyes, and feel the pulse of your own body, steady, quiet, familiar. It is the same rhythm that guided the prophets, the same breath that parted seas and whispered through caves, the same unseen thread that bound the stories of the scrolls you once heard read aloud. You sit now on a smooth stone, the city slowly waking around you. You hear water drawn from a well, hear bread placed into an oven, hear someone sweep dust from a threshold. None of them hurry. Each sound joins the others like notes in a melody, already playing before you arrived. And you remember something that has no beginning and no end, something not spoken but true, that in a city without clocks, in a life without measuring tapes and alarms, you are still kept. You are not lost in time. You are found in presence. The rhythm of God is in every breath, in every pause, in every act done with care, with faith, with love. It does not ask you to rush. It does not ask you to prove. It only asks you to walk, to notice, to rest, to trust. You stand and walk back the way you came, and the city welcomes you again. The light has changed, the wind has shifted, but the rhythm has remained. And you, having joined it, are changed too. If this rhythm has touched something in you, if it has helped you slow down, breathe, and listen more closely, take a moment now to like the video and subscribe. Let others know where you are listening from, what hour of the night or morning this story met you. You are part of this rhythm now. You reach your door, place your hand on the worn wood, and pause. Not to measure how far you have come, but to feel where you are. You open the door, not because time has told you to, but because the rhythm has brought you home. Now that the day has unfolded and folded back in on itself, you do not need to remember the order of things. You do not need to list what came first, or last, or whether you missed anything along the way. You are here, and that is enough. The city rests now. The gates have grown quiet. The rooftops no longer echo. The wind has softened to something like a sigh. Your breath is slower than before. You did not force it. It came naturally, as the world around you loosened its grip, as the stories stopped asking for attention, as the light faded without apology. You do not need a plan. You do not need a reason. You only need this stillness, this warmth, this closing rhythm. Imagine the city now, wrapped in shadows that do not threaten, only protect. Imagine the clay walls cooling, the fires dimming, the last bowl being placed gently on a shelf. There are no voices left to call your name, no tasks whispering from the corners. There is only quiet, and quiet is good. Your head rests heavy. Your body has done enough. Your mind is full, but not loud. It hums with memory, not thought. You carry no burden. You are not late. You are not early. You are not expected anywhere else. The day has made room for your rest. There is a rhythm even now, beneath the stillness. A gentle pulse in the earth, in your breath, in the space between one moment and the next. You do not need to find it. It finds you. It is the same rhythm that carried the stories, the same one that marked the shadows on the wall, the same rhythm that women wove into cloth, that children played inside, that prayers unfolded with. There is no time here, only presence. The moon watches, not to count, but to accompany. The stars do not hurry. They shine because they can. You close your eyes, not to escape, but to arrive. You do not leave this place. You become part of it. The scroll has closed. The story rests. You are safe. You are remembered. You are not alone. Good night.